Welcome to Oral Gibbes Live. And with me this evening, for the first time in 2015, is the leader of our party and Member of Parliament, MP, Mr. Heyliger. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Oral. Good evening to all the televiewers, and Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to all the viewers here on St. Martin. And thank you for having me on the program for 2015.
And thank you for coming, and Happy New Year again also to you and your family. It's good to have you in the program because last year we had you here in October, and a lot of people saw that program. It was the first program that we had on the internet because of the demand, and it was the #1 program for 2014. So now you're here tonight, and I guess a lot of people, on people's mind, they say, you got to ask him, why is it he did not take the prime ministership? Because everyone was waiting, everyone expected you to take it.
Well, you know, Oral, it's funny that the first question you started out with is that one, because on your program is when I announced that I would take the seat up. And actually, your program is quite popular because when I stated that way back last year, that's when all of, you know, Kingdom Come started out in terms of the Dutch Parliament, the Dutch government started a huge, you know, witch hunt, I would call it, against my person, the party, St. Martin, and brought about the first, what they call, aanwijzing, which is a letter of instruction to St. Martin based on the statement that I made that I wanted to become Prime Minister. Yeah, it shows you here on the island that while we believe we're a country, we're not really a country, because again, the Dutch government can basically put in any time letter of instruction, and it changes the real aspect, and as a matter of fact, has changed the democratic process here in our country. You know, thanks to the voters' confidence in me in particular, I received over 1,900 and I believe 45 votes in the last election. And that should give you a clear indication that no one even came over the 1,000 mark. I was able to do that, with of course, with the position from the people of St. Martin. And that should have been a clear indication to any of the foreign entities outside of democracy lives in St. Martin. And it should be basically, you know, respected, because that is the wishes of the people. Now, how this whole process started off is when we started announcing that there was a new government. All kinds of insinuations, innuendos came out from members of parliament in the second chamber in the Netherlands, which are totally unfounded and untrue. But what has happened, you're no longer innocent, you're now guilty based on whatever the Dutch government says and believes. So what we did is we started out a process where we started out being, we appointed Mr. Marcel Gums at that time, and also Joe Richardson as the informateurs. The governor appointed them as informateurs. They met with several of the unions and several of the other institutions in our country, and then I was named formateur for the new government, and we started the process. And that is where then the letter of instruction came out. And a lot of media houses on the island, I think, falsely reported that basically it's because of the letter of instruction that we changed the process in St. Martin of how ministers were appointed. That's not true, because I think the governor himself did a very good job, and I take my hat off to him for standing up for St. Martin as well. But what he did is basically, although he didn't allow the Dutch Secret Service to come in and do the screening, we did the screening with our local Secret Service, you would say, and the Public Prosecutor's Office and the other institutions that we have, like the Receiver's Office, the Tax Office. All of these institutions were involved in the screening of the candidates for ministers. And what in particular came out is that what the governor did is that he made it, let me put it this way, more clearer. And in the position that he took is that you, based on what the public prosecutor and our Secret Service wrote in their documents, that would be basically a challenge. So in this case, in terms, I don't think not even a saint could become a minister if you had any kind of issues. You know, and I'll give you some instances, because I think it's also important that the public itself know, because it's not that you know, people were scared to give out information, but this is a lot of private information that has been required by the governor, and in this case, the vetting of ministers. You take candidate A. Candidate A has to submit a complete financial position of themselves, what they own in assets, what they have at the bank, what they have in loans, what they have in any type of debt that they have, them, their family, immediate close relatives, or business people that they're doing business with. So all of those institutions had to give in a position. They then had to make sure that their taxes were in complete order, and I mean that some candidates went through the sense that they only got their declaration the week that they asked for it, and in some cases had to end up paying their entire tax burden at that time, or else they wouldn't get basically a cladding, an agreement from the tax office that they didn't owe anything. So it was quite a strenuous process in that sense, because a lot of people have, you know, a ruling of they could pay their taxes over X amount of time, which is also law or required by law. Some of the candidates have had, they didn't even know that they were, how shall we say, being inspected or whatever. So that also the public prosecutor played a major role in that position too, in what they say about the person before. So for example, if candidate A was being positioned as a minister, if the public prosecutor's office says that this candidate, although not officially under investigation, we're looking at them because, I'll give you a certain example. One candidate, they didn't have their work paper in order for the person working for them in their house, so like a domestic servant, and they did not pull back in the work permit when that person left. That was one of the reasons why that person could not become minister. And when I tell that story to people, people ask me, but how is that possible? And I am telling you it is possible because of the way how it has been written from the institutions out there. What I have done because of this process, and I've been very silent about it until now that I'm talking with you on your show to give a real position to the population of this island, is that I've also taken it up with the Minister of Justice, the present Minister of Justice, that you cannot have the prosecutor's office writing, let's call it one-sided stories about a particular candidate and not giving the rest of the information. If the person is not involved in a company that has 50 employees and things like that, and has one employee as a maid, and they can forget to pull in that work permit. To me, it would have been a simple thing saying, listen, fix that problem, and then let's continue with the whole thing. They wrote something very different. So now that person didn't even know that they were being investigated, and has not a right to be able to fight it. Another candidate, because of their business partner, basically you're guilty by association. The business partner doesn't even know that he's under investigation. So how do you know that the candidate is under investigation? So these are the things, oral, that, and all of the candidates, I will tell you, are, in my opinion, good standing in the community, are all successful business people, have passed the bar in many things. So for example, to become a lawyer, you pass a very stringent position. And certain candidates were on already established committees that have been, as a matter of fact, appointed by the kingdom government. So imagine if the kingdom government appoints you and you can't become a minister in your own country. That is to tell you the level of screening that these candidates went through. And I want to also make sure, because a lot of misinformation has been given out, in the Netherlands does not have anything like this type of screening exists in the kingdom right now. I think only in Curacao their level of screening is a little different, maybe as stringent, but still, if you are not exactly in a let's call it, if a case is not going on against you, then basically you're innocent until that case starts. So in our case, many of the discussions, like I stated, I thought that the governor did a great job in this position because of all of the positions from the Dutch government. But at the same time, I think it's important that we look up for our democracy. And a lot of people say, but Theo, why did you pull back? And that's your original question. If I'm the reason why the Dutch started out this whole ruckus, I don't think, and I've always been a person, I look for some art and force, and I don't think this should be about me. So if I'm taken out of the equation, then let's see how they would react. And I'm saying it to the population again. My position was, I promised to do certain things for them if gotten into government or if elected to govern. And while it's going to be a little bit more difficult, I still intend to carry out those promises to the population. And I stated already, I mean, while it's a pity that democracy did not be able to carry out, but at the same time, it's not about Theo, it's about St. Martin. And that has been my position, not about it you're scared or anything like that. It's that it will continue to create a bigger fight, a larger fight within the kingdom, something that when I had the opportunity to meet with the Prime Minister of Curacao as well, and even spoken to those in Aruba, is that we as former Netherlands Antilles or former colonies, you would even say, need to stand together against the Netherlands in this case, or else we're going to be basically just thrown out.
And Heyliger, when you look at all what's happened, and now so at least people have an explanation as to why you decided not to continue on as Prime Minister. You're still short by 2 ministers, and the Prime Minister is now filling in along with the Minister of Justice. Is there a time frame now when the people of St. Martin can say, well, you consider the people, well, we will have these other two ministers in place, say, by April or March?
Well, first of all, one of the main things that we wanted to accomplish, or I wanted to accomplish, was that you have a stable government. And when I say a stable government, is that you have a coalition that understands and that realizes that patience is also a very important part of politics. I've always stated that the letter P in the alphabet for a politician is a very important one, because it tells you about patience, perseverance, persistence, and we need to understand that, especially when you're trying to run a government or trying to run a country or positioning the country in a better way. The coalition itself, we started out with 8. We went to 10, and then we're back to 9. My position has always been that I would like to keep it within a 2/3 majority. And that way is because then you're able then to know that you'll be able to govern in a more susceptible way towards the community. Because you have some that, if they wake up with a headache, it becomes a problem in government. And this is not the right way to be able to run the country. You need to make sure that you have the right number. So one of the things is that I would like to position that we move back into a 10-member coalition. And I think that within the next few weeks, we will position the 2 other candidates for ministers, and fill in that, and like I said, hopefully also broaden the coalition at the same time.
No, you're getting people to wonder and worry what's going on, because you just mentioned you want to increase the coalition in Parliament.
Again, Aurel, I'm a person, if you've known me for over the years, you want to be able to plan not only for 6 months, you want to plan for the full 4 years that you're in government. And some of the plans that we need to do on this island require stability in the government itself. It cannot be that every day you're worried about whether the coalition is going to fall or someone wakes up with a headache or whatever else. You need to have people that are going to stand steadfast and make sure we push on. I've always stated, having just 8 members in Parliament, one gets a headache, like I said, and then your government falls. We had 3 governments in the last 4 years, and now this is the 4th government in 5 years. And if you consider the few weeks that you had the force red, white, and blue coalition, then we're up to about 5. So you know, you need to show not only the investors that want to come to St. Martin, but also your local people. That a local person goes in and they're requesting something to be done with government, and the next day Minister Joe is going to be there the next day, so that you can continue of how you're investing in the country. I mean, it can't be that every day something is changing, or because it's not good for the community, it's not good for the prosperity of the country, and you know it's important that you give stability. So if I have to, in the case of my person, give away certain powers and certain positions to have a stable government, I prefer that rather than having all the portfolios and everything under the up party itself. But you want to have a government that's there for the 4 years.
All right. So in other words, you're saying you're going to broaden the coalition to approximately an additional 1 or 2 other members in Parliament.
Like I said, I'm working on that, and it's important that, like I said again, that you know, you have the opportunity. A lot of people, I've been quiet for a reason, and you know, you don't want to go announcing everything that's done. Having the 5 ministers in government meant that you have, well, 5 plus your minister plenipotentiary in Holland. That gives you a government. And now we need to make sure, like I said, that I have for government, that you have a parliament that backs the government and creates stability in the country.
But I'm surprised that you mentioned that here so early.
Yeah, well, you know, Earl, it's a different Theo now. I'll tell you that one. I'm a member of parliament. I've stated before. The people elected me straight out. My seat is straight from the people. And, you know, holding back and stating that everything is always great and dandy. No, like I said, I'm tired of the innuendos, tired of the games. If you want to move the country forward, then we all have to, you give respect, and also you understand that the respect from the voter has been given to the party in general. And it can't be that the only thing that you're constantly hearing is what is in it for me, what is in it for my the person that campaigned for me, and we're not talking about the issues of the country. And that is what really you want to start talking about.
What kind of struck me and surprised me is that the last program I did with you last year, I was surprised as to the level of appreciation and the amount of people that still have confidence in you. A lot of people from that particular program, I was really, really surprised, not just looking at the numbers and the people throughout the world that looked at it on YouTube, but also locally. So you are popular among the population and the voters. If you look at members of parliament, you had a mandate as a member of parliament with almost 2,000 votes. But the problem is that, and you're right, people are looking for stability. I hope we will have a stable government for 4 years. But I'm really, and all the time that I've known you, and this is the first time you came here was in 1995, I'm really surprised when you're telling me tonight that you're going to broaden that coalition. I think you already have them.
Yeah, I'm already, you know, when I'm telling you something, I usually like to ask a question, but you know the answer, but you want to see what the other person is going to say. And like I'm saying, you know, Oral, the thing is, I prefer giving up to making sure, give up something to make sure that we have the stability. And like I said, it cannot be that you're constantly outing fires to make sure that, you know, the government stays. We want to create affordable housing. You want to be able to adjust the cost of living of our country. And how do you do that? It can't be done in 3 months. It can't be done in 4 or 5 months. You need a year. You need to. People don't realize. Huh? I mean, when you got the first hand raising, first basically a letter from the Dutch government, that now they're also talking about having an integrity bureau or something like that here, that they want to put in the people. Now, imagine them putting in people. And a lot of, one of the things that I think that the Dutch love on St. Martin is that our culture of Melrosering has become in a new position, because once you now decide that I'm hearing that Oliver Gibbes is going to be a candidate for minister, I run down to the police station and I say, well, you know, Oliver Gibbes threatened me out on the road. He said he's going to hit my car. So guess what? That goes in now to the public prosecutor's office, and boom, well, your position of becoming a candidate for minister is just out the door. And that is the situation that is going on right now. It is basically, I would say nearly the public prosecutor's office has the ability to determine who will be new ministers in our country.
I thought that was the people.
Well, the democracy on this island, I think, has changed quite a lot. You know, it isn't regulated how the public prosecutor's office answers positions and people. They can take forever on a case. You know, up to 4 years, more than 4 years. You know, the issuance of them taking my uncle to court basically about the vote buying, and I wasn't involved, and then the judge gets up and says, well, you know, you should have questioned Theo Heyliger. And then he talks about class injustice. Well, I think it's reversed, because right now the local person, the man on the street, is reversed because now they don't have the opportunity, even with the right of the people, with the power of the people, to basically govern their country. And that to me has always been a sacred position. You know, wars have started over democracy. Wars continue over democracy in different countries. And today it is being definitely trampled on, because when you had a coalition before, there was no issues. Now, as soon as the coalition changes, and you know, a lot of people say, well, what have you done to the Dutch government like that? And I say, well, one of the things that I pride myself into, you know, you've never seen me going begging them for any help or financial position. We've always done well on St. Martin in terms of let us do it ourselves, and I've always prided myself in that we as a people shouldn't have to beg anybody. We can do these things ourselves, but you need to also have the time and the opportunity to do it. And it can't be that nothing that we do on St. Martin is right when you look at St. Martin throughout the former Netherlands Antilles, and it is still a jewel. We just recorded 2 million cruise ship passengers. Our hotels are doing well now. Of course, we have our challenges, but so does the rest of the world. And we can't just be throwing the baby out with the bad water, because, again, we need to be able to do and fix the problems ourselves. But right now, what you're doing, you're constantly in a battle with the Dutch government, rather than focusing your resources, your limited resources, on tackling the true challenges of St. Martin. So right now, again, our Minister of Justice is in the Netherlands again, trying to fight another a letter of instruction that wants to come from them with regards to integrity.
So that part you mentioned with integrity, it has to do with you saying they want to set up an integrity office or something, because that's will be a form of higher supervision in a way.
Well, you have, you know, when you look, or rather the cost of running St. Martin, we have a Council of Advice. You have the Algemeen Rekenkamer. You have the Ombudsman. All of these never really existed in St. Martin before. Right. We're paying. You have a Parliament of St. Martin. Never existed on St. Martin before. All of these are new expenses for the country of St. Martin. The size of our police force was never like that, what it is today, compared to what it was in former Netherlands Antilles. Many other institutions that we have, Bureau Telecom, that used to be by Curaçao, is now in St. Martin. We have our own. So all of these institutions cost the country millions and millions, and now, and I've stated to the Dutch, I said, I have no problem instituting these type of institutions. However, you have an institution called the Committee of Financial Oversight, the CFT, and they tell us that you have to have a balanced budget. So you want us to put in more councils, Council of Integrity, Council of this, but basically where do you get the revenue from as well to constantly be implementing these when you still have housing shortages in the country, when you still have security issues in the country and other things like that, where the population itself is crying for, and you as the politician have to tell them, well, listen, I can't help you because we need to fund all kinds of other institutions, that when you really come down to it, Oral, the little guy in the different districts, he's not asking you about that. He's asking for a job. He's asking for a home. And again, I want to make sure that it doesn't come across like I'm against them. Sure, I'm for having, you know, integrity in that, but it has to be done, in my opinion, by Samaritan people. We should police ourselves. You know, it can't be that because someone is sitting in the Netherlands and looks down at Samaritan and say, yeah, all of those thieves on that island. No, it's not right, and I don't think it's fair for that kind of justice to be placed in Samaritan.
But the new institutions that you just mentioned, which is a part of the High Council of State, they should be doing their job, aren't they doing their job?
They're doing their job, sure. And, you know, the question is, has Samaritan change benefited from these institutions? How often, basically, do people use them? And, you know, I think my good friend in Sabre, Will Johnson, stated, you know, you call yourself a country, but then just look at the cost of running this country that we have. I mean, the only thing that we share now with Curacao is the central bank. And imagine also looking at breaking that up, what the cost will again be for St. Martin if you break that institution up as well. So all I'm saying is that one of the things that you have, and right now we have a situation where we have a budget deficit of close to 50 million. Okay, 50 million, 50 with a lot of zeros behind it. You can't cut the budget anymore because now you're really cutting into the benefits, not even the benefits, the core of government. But where do you get this other 50 million from? You can't continue just taxing the people more and more and more. And then also the growth of government continues to grow. And that's all I'm stating to the Dutch government as well. You have placed a huge emphasis on integrity. We have issues with tax compliance. We have issues in collecting our taxes in the country in terms of those that are seeping through the holes. Help us with that too, so that we can afford to pay for these institutions and things like that. But there's never a discussion oral on that. It's only a discussion on what they think should be done on St. Martin, and not what St. Martin thinks should be done on its own in its own country.
Speaking about that, the courts recently convicted a member of your party for tax evasion. What's the party position there on that now?
Well, you know, again, even before the election, the case had already started against the member. We have always been in a position that we presume you innocent until you're condemned or you're guilty of the position. I spoke to the member of parliament. By the way, that same member of parliament is the third highest vote getter in the party. Right. Received, I think, 498 or 500 votes. So it's quite a considerable amount of people voted for this individual, even knowing that there was an existing court case. But now to get back into the crux, if you're, especially in the system that we're in, if you're convicted, you would have basically lost your seat. You would no longer be a member of parliament. But the member of parliament has stated that he's going to appeal the case. So that means that basically he will still continue to serve as a member of parliament until that appeal process is over. And then we will deal with it from there. When
you look at St. Martin today, this island have a lot of potential, a lot of opportunity, 2 million visitors, people. If you look at all those mega yachts and wealthy people here, it's incredible, the potential for this island. But at the same time, there's a lot of talk. You know my position on the turnover tax and others, a few others. The 50 million guilders that you mentioned just recently again, there are some challenges for your government.
Well, Oral, you have, and that's why a lot of people were asking me, why is it not business as usual, just, you know, put in everyone on the party, and as minister, and I have stated, and we've critically forgotten letter of instruction that came in from the Dutch government. We have forgotten the statements made by the second chamber radicals in there. We've totally forgotten about the stance that the government itself, the Rutte government, has taken against St. Martin. You have to realize in 2010, we signed on with certain agreements with the Dutch government. One of them is the position of the CFT, for example, the Committee of Financial Oversight. These members sit and more or less dictate to you, your budgets that you have for the country. Oral people might be a little bit taken back to hear me say that, our biggest issue is sometimes ourselves, in the sense that if we have a 50 million guilder budget deficit and we're sending that to the CFT to approve, well, you know what's going to happen. It's going to get disapproved. But I just have a serious situation having to ask someone permission that you're always basically you're in your own democracy. You're supposed to be a country, but you're still asking for permission to do all of these things. So our biggest challenge is going to be this year is the renegotiation or the negotiation of how these agreements that were signed in 2010, if they're going to be renewed or not. I think in November of this year, don't hold me to the month, but this 2015, the agreements that we have on justice, the agreements that we have on finance, all of these are going to now be renegotiated. And I think that is why the Dutch government is also coming down with such hard pressure now, because really what they want to do is either strengthen those agreements to where it benefits them to put on more supervision on St. Martin, or to maintain what they have now, which really holds us in a bind of what we're able to do. So the main thing is going to be that this present government is going to have to renegotiate these, and a lot of people don't realize those situations in government right now, because again, nothing has really been done to prepare us for that reality that's coming up on us.
So then these are agreements that were made back, I think, 2006, whereby
2010 they were signed. Yeah.
But all of these were part of an agreement for St. Martin to become...
To achieve separate status. To receive
right.
country status, sorry.
And at the same time, these agreements were for 5 years, and then after that, they'll come up for review.
That's
so
right.
you're saying now is the time that this happens?
Well, now it's coming for review. And if you follow, I'm a person that likes to look at the history as well. If you follow how the Dutch have been reacting, the Dutch government, how the judges have been reacting, how the public prosecutor's office has been reacting. Everything has been geared now to more or less getting at the politicians on St. Martin, because again, now they can justify why these agreements have to be renewed or actually strengthened, like I stated before, because they will say that they are the savior of integrity and the savior of the whole issue, and we forget about the democratic process in our country. I've always stated there's one equality that we all have when we go to vote. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, doesn't matter the amount of wealth you have, and it doesn't matter the amount of education you have. We're still all worth one vote. And here in St. Martin, we use that right, and we elect certain people to positions, and certain other powers don't like it. Well, then they use in this case, the law to be able to position those that they don't want in government out.
How you feel about the economy now, today, when you look at, we've gone through some very difficult years, but what you just mentioned now doesn't really make it too attractive for investors in terms of potential problems down the road. Yeah. Aren't you concerned? Oh, well,
I'm very concerned. I've stated that, and every chance that I've gotten. If you're an investor, why would I come in to St. Martin, sit with one government today, 2 weeks from now, another government, 3 weeks later, another government, and I'm going to go and say I'm going to put in $50 million, $100 million into whatever. And I'm not even stating that as a foreign investor, even as a local investor. If I want to go and invest as a local and build something and then state, then you get in the issue of who you are, which party are you associated with, then you're going to come and now pinpoint that person because, yes, you supported that party. And, you know, it's a lot of this animosity going on, Oral, that is very hurtful. And then at the end of the day, we Samaritans are tearing down each other. And then you have all of those foreigners that come in, they continue to grow. But because we're only focusing on which families in St. Martin are there, let's tear them down. And it's a terrible thing. And if you look at where and how these situations are going, what we're doing is basically we're going after all the older, bigger local families on the island and tearing them down.
What about also there's this counterpart policy? And I was saying to someone, I remember back in the 1990s when the government of St. Martin, not the private sector, the government of St. Martin started bringing in people from Holland to train, etc.
That's right.
And what I say is that the counterpart policy, basically the government failed and executed on their side, and now want the private sector to look at the counterpart policy. Isn't it counterproductive, Mr. Heyliger?
Or just take a drive through, and before I get singled out of that, I've only singled out certain communities. Go and drive in certain areas of the island and go in the store. In some instances, there's not even one local in that place. And without going into a certain industry, just take retail. You can tell me that you can't train a local person into selling pens or paper products or whatever it is. You can't train them into doing that. And the only workforce that you can have is totally foreign and not one local. You know, I think that at least when you look at islands like the Bahamas, a work permit there costs you $10,000, but then you have to have X amount of Bahamians working there, or you just don't get to open your business in the country. Right now, you have a lot of local young people in general. And the problem is with that, Oral, is that we don't take the initiative and the time. And I've told this to the directors of many of our local companies, our government companies in particular. I said, you guys spend all your time behind the big, beautiful desk. You need to also come out and also go to our schools as a CEO or the president of the company or whatever you want to call yourself. Go to the companies and start to also look for young individuals and seeing how we can pull them out and basically give them, empower them to say, listen, I want to work for the airport, I want to work for the harbor, I want to work for Gibbes, I want to work for Telem. I want to be the next guy that can set up the cellular switch on St. Martin rather than bringing in Nokia or whoever it is that comes in. And this, Oral, we need to instill, because it's not only just putting a local director, but it's also making sure that locals continue to maintain and fix the products that we have in our country. And I will say this, you know, you look at, I stand sometimes at both levels of the fence because I'm a business person as well, and you're a politician, but you don't put that the issue that your local people are involved. I told that to some other foreign business people. I said, it can't be that you don't want to pay no taxes, that's one. You don't hire a local. You want our police force to protect you, so basically be right outside your door. You don't want to associate yourself with any locals, and you also then are the biggest complainers in our society. That can't work. It can't work. And then my people are without jobs, and my people are the ones that are being blamed for crime, a rising crime on the island. And you know, I'm sorry, but this politician, a lot of people have said that you've changed to more social stance. But you know why? Because a lot of them haven't gone with me to the certain districts on this island and sit with some of these young people, older people, middle-aged people, and see what they go through as well.
Well, I have to agree that what you said there makes a lot of sense, and I think that I hope that it can come to pass, because we do have a lot of people in very difficult situation. But when you look at the two groups really, and I think the one I was thinking about is the more college educated group that are finishing school in the U.S. and in other countries, and they also have an extremely difficult time. And there, I think, is where the private sector is more concerned about the counterpart issue, and because it's a lot more money. And I wonder if your government will be able to really push that through. Ensure, because let me go back a little bit, Mr. MP. I spoke with someone recently about Aruba.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was told that Aruba had this 25-year plan where they had and kept track of all their students. If you wanted to go work in Aruba, you had to be an Aruban. In Samarra, we just take everybody, every Tom, Dick, and Harry. It doesn't matter what, and we leave out our own people.
Well, you stated it quite correctly. Two things, two big points you just made there. One, they had a 20-year program. Tell you now. So you have a Minister of Education. We've had, I think, 3 ministers of education. This is the 4th one in 4 years, okay? And every time the policy changes. So you have a situation where you can't make a long-term plan like what we're talking about right now. And that's where my point is from the beginning of the program when I stated to you, I've been ready to give up more to be able to say that let us have a plan for the future. I'll give you, and I hate to just use them as an example. I sit down with some of the members of management of Telem, and they were there complaining to me about, yes, and why can't, you know, we need a local here to help us, or I have to bring in someone from, like I stated, Nokia to come and fix the cellular switch. And I said to management, I said, well, why don't you just not hire stagiaires to come in and file in your company, because that's what we usually use the students for, to file papers. Really go and look for one, and say, or a few actually, and say, listen, we're ready to also help you with a scholarship program in addition to government. You come back to work for us during the summer. We see your progress. I always call it, Oral, the farm system. It's the same thing in politics. It's the same thing to me in business. You got to go out there and look for those productive people. And you stated it again. Why would our young people want to go away and then come back and they still can't have an opportunity to work? And why do you have that? Because we are not making space for them when they're coming back as well. So a part of me agrees wholeheartedly with the issue of the counterpart policy. No problem in having, I'm not saying to have businesses completely go bankrupt because they are told to get rid of all their foreign employees. No, not at all. I'm saying to you, know that these people are brought in for a time and start selecting the local people that are going to be there eventually to take their place, because that is the only way, Oral, that we're going to move our country forward. I mean, you are seeing what is happening throughout the world. I mean, look at what has happened in Paris. When you read today, I think they're planning a massive protest in Germany about the differences in you know, the ethnic groups in the different areas of the world. If we don't take care of our own local people, then we too are going to have these kind of massive problems in our island, which we're already facing certain issues.
There's so many things we can speak about, but I want to come back. You know, these days, a lot of people are worried about government-owned companies. Mm-hmm. You know, it was also in the integrity report. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you speak with people in the street, they feel like government-owned companies have become so huge and so powerful that they're also out of the reach of government. Mm-hmm.
Well, you know who's to blame for that? The Dutch have always told us, the Dutch government has always told us, you have to have a hands-off approach of your government companies. And we, like good children, have listened to our elders in the sense that we've had hands-off approach of government companies. You have government companies, I will tell you, straight off the bat, the ones that they complain about the most are actually some of the ones that contribute the most to the government coffers. You know, they complain constantly about the harbor because of me, of course, but guess what? The harbor pays over $5 million towards the coffers of government as a concession fee. If you don't pay the concession fee to government, well, then her finances will be in the best shape there is. GB in particular as well is another one that pays government the concession fee. And I've stated in your program just now, it has to be that all government companies must pay concession fees to government itself. Or else, why do you own the company? You own the company under the issue that it has been able to invest, or the idea was things that government couldn't invest, we formed government companies to be able to invest. Those government companies, like I said, one principal issue to me has to be that they pay a concession fee to government. That's my main position on it. All of them have to pay a concession fee to government.
Only two paying right now?
There's only two, is Gibbes and Samaritan Harbor group of companies. None of the rest pay concession fees. I'll give you another example. UTS Samaritan contributes 13 million, 1-3 with a lot of zeros behind it, to UTS Curacao. And what I'm stating, and I've told it to the present government, UTS Samaritan should pay a concession fee to operate within the boundaries of Samaritan. What it pays is like spectrum fees and things like that. And I'm saying, no, you need to also pay a concession fee to the country of Samaritan. The airport should be paying a concession fee to the country of Samaritan. Telem should be paying a concession fee to the country of Samaritan. Like I said again, these companies are government owned. One, they should be looking to make sure that locals are the only ones that are hired. They should be making sure that local companies are the ones that are benefiting from the business going on in the different areas, from airport, harbor, GB, all of them, so that our people can continue to grow in our own country. It can't be only that we're only looking at who's at the leadership of the party, I mean not the party, sorry, the company, and that has to be local. No, we have to look throughout the company to make sure that locals are involved in the company in particular as well.
The Emilio Wilson estate is now owned by St. Martin, and how do you feel about that?
Well, you know, Aurel, my position has been before, you know, that I've stated that we wanted to bring in a major park there. That would have been a beautiful thing, just like Lottery Farm on the French side, to St. Martin. They were able to strike an agreement with the owners of Emilio Wilson at that time. Government fell, and then that government wanted to buy the Emilio Wilson Park. $17 million we put up to purchase the park. I just thought that, you know, using $17 million to purchase the property itself without the economic benefit to it, I have a certain issue with it. That's all I've stated.
So why you can't go ahead with that project?
Well, I think it should go ahead, Oral, because again, I've also stated, I think on your program too, if you look at how the U.S. Park Service runs within the United States, they do all kind of things to generate their own revenue.
Exactly.
So it does not become a burden to the government of the United States of America. And if the big United States of America could do it, I don't think why we should hold back something like that. When we had the Florida Cruise, Caribbean Cruise Association meeting here, the two presidents of the cruise lines came up to me and said, you know, Theo, we always used to brag about St. Martin. Every cruise ship conference, our main speeches were always about St. Martin. Do you realize in the last 4 years, your government has done nothing new, has not been able to finalize any of the agreements that you have with us, and you guys are constantly in a shifting pattern of not knowing what the policy is of government. And Oral, that's why I stated in the beginning, these people that used to invest in St. Martin, believe in St. Martin, now are turning their backs and looking at other islands. Carnival just invested, just built a pier in the Dominican Republic. Norwegian Cruise Line and Disney Cruise Line, because we couldn't finalize an agreement here because of changes in government, built a pier in Tortola. We're going to feel these effects in years to come, in 2-3 years from now, 4 years from now, because we have not been making the investments that we need to do and not been able to hold the hands of those that are our partners to continue to grow this country. And when you're that foolish not to continue that, I mean, I'll give you another example. Over the holidays, every year is the same thing at the airport. We turn away private jets because we're full. They run out of fuel, they have nowhere to park. These are the things that we need to fix, but you can't do it every time you're changing governments. We need to create parking for more jets at the airport. We need to create the fuel facilities at the airport to make sure that these private owners come. And then we need to show them that we are looking towards the future. I'll give you another one. Right now, the mega yacht industry, or the smallest boats are no longer small. Everything is over 100 meters long. Are we preparing ourselves for that new wave coming? No. But these are things that we need to start doing so that other islands are not going to go against us. St. Kitts has gone to St. Bart's, had meetings with the government of St. Bart's, tell them, listen, whatever problems you have in St. Martin, we're ready to make sure, fix them, and let the private jets come to St. Kitts. We're also ready to build a new mega yacht marina in St. Kitts to take that business from St. Martin. And what has happened with us? We have just laid back, thought that business is the same anywhere itself, and don't continue to invest in our country. Don't continue to have the vision of where our economy is to grow. And like you started out when saying, Amelia Wilson is one of them that we, let fall through the cracks. Carnival Cruise Lines is very upset. They were ready to invest. And I'm hoping that, also when everything settles down with the new government, that we maybe also look at pulling that back on the plate.
Looking back and looking back at your record, you had vision. I remember the boardwalk and in Phillipsburg with the beach replenishing and the controversy all around that. And you look at it today, it's amazing.
Yeah, I asked my mother one day, my name is Theodore Emmanuel Heyliger. I thought that she called me Theodore Controversial Heyliger, but because, and I've told that to people, you forgot the bridge and the amount of criticism took on that, a bridge to nowhere. But if we don't or look at including these projects, but also making sure that we improve the social aspects for people, we're destined for doom. And right now, all we're busy doing is trying to, degrade our own leaders, degrade our own people, instead of pushing us and defending our own people.
Well, so Heyliger, we're just about out of time. We have 45 seconds in closing.
Well, thank you, Oral, and God bless you. God bless all your viewers out there. I wish them for 2015 great prosperity, but also the most important thing is health for all of us. Take care of the family, and thank you, Oral, for having me on the program.
Well, MP Heyliger, I want to thank you. I want to wish you all the best, you and your family, and hope that we can have a stable government, that we can see everything come to pass for the next 4 years.
Thank you.
That's it for now. I'll see you next time right here on Oral Gibbes Live. Until then, good night. Take care. Bye.